As the sun rises and sets, another day above ground, I'm blessed. Live life with no regrets, cause I ain't got the time, what would I stress? Everybody's striving for the sun rays. Live life to the fullest, cause we all dying one day. This grinding, only thing on my mind. Hustle where I'm probably found.
Everybody loves sunshine.
Dreams are for fools, what the fool said. No blues, clues, no cartoon, we misled. This ain't how it supposed to be. This ain't life, it what it seems. Try to keep my boat afloat.
Everybody loves the sunshine.
Drifting, I'm falling. Drifting, I'm falling. Chasing the dollar, I hear it calling. I got nobody to pretend to be. Ironically, chest out just for being me.
Everybody loves
I'm just saying, shit crazy. Second guess myself, maybe. Put away these dollars to take care of my babies. Everybody love the sunshine. Waiting for them cloudy days, wouldn't have a grind. Just remember being down is a state of mind. Diamond in the rough, they stumbled on a gold mine. Maybe down, but it happens, I just pray for better days. Streaming vivid of them sun rays. As the sun rises and sets, another day above ground, I'm blessed. Live life with no regrets, cause I ain't got the time, what would I stress? Everybody's striving for the sun rays. Life to the fullest, cause we all dying one day. This grind, only thing on my mind. Hustle where I'm probably found.
Everybody loves the sunshine.
Wake up every morning thanking God I'm blessed. Man, through all these problems, you won't see me sweat. Had to pray for the best. Every day is a test. I ain't never satisfied until my whole team set. We set it off, then it's back to a check. What you expect? Trying to find my way in heaven before I lay to rest in peace. I'm focused on the things I see when I dream. I want everything that comes with the fame. I touch the sky every time I land. Let the sunshine in. I'll be damned if I let a nigga shadow my plans. Living life to the fullest, hold it down for the fam. Back to back with new songs out pushing the brand. I'm just trying to maintain the best way I can. Lord, give your boy a chance. I promise you won't regret it. Hustle is so relentless. I wrote the verse in cursive for money I get it twisted. Everybody loves
as the sun
sunshine.
rises and sets, another day above ground, I'm blessed. Live life with no regrets, cause I ain't got the time, what would I stress? Everybody's striving for the sun rays. Life to the fullest, cause we all dying one day. This grinding, only thing on my mind. Hustle where I'm probably found.
Everybody loves the sunshine.
Beloved Kinfolk, good evening. This is your main man with the game plan. Janice's oldest boy, Sincere, is definitely in the building. And welcome to another episode of the Black Owned Podcast. So please like and share as you come in. And if you're checking us out from YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're watching from Facebook, please share this on your timeline because the more the merrier. I'm always looking for guests too. So if you know a Black owned business or an artist or someone who could give us information, or other type of content, then I would definitely love to send me an email at the number one Black Owned Podcast. It is the number one Black Owned Podcast at gmail.com. Good evening to everybody, man. It's a good to be back. We got another week behind us, another week in front of us. So the WNBA stars were, the All-Stars were announced I believe it was yesterday. First timers, Aaliyah Boston is a first timer, and she is a WNBA All-Star starter. Imagine that. So congratulations to Aaliyah Boston. Brittany Griner, it's been a long road for BG, and she is also a All-Star starter in the WNBA All-Star Game. The All-Star Game will be held in Las Vegas this year for the WNBA, so congratulations to all the starters on that team. Unpopular thought of the day, Lifetime Movies Channel is the original Tubi. Lifetime Movie Channel is the original Tubi. If you agree, put it down in the comments. If you disagree, put it down in the comments. But yeah, Lifetime is the original Tubi. But other than that, we got breaking news. Let's get to it. breaking news, a lot of talk this week about the incident with the sub that went down to try to look at the remains of the Titanic. A lot of different takes on what people believe should or should not have happened. And a lot of course, memes, does not sleep when it comes to the submarine and all of the people that were in the submarine. Now, my take is maybe a little bit different. I believe there definitely should have been some more safety measures involved. The companies, of course, we know are gonna guard themselves, and of course, have you sign, any type of agreement that will relieve them of any type of responsibility, regardless of what happens, up to and including death, missing, whatever the situation is right now with the submarine. They looked for them for a long time, widened their search, happened to find some debris, but I don't believe I hadn't heard anything about there being any bodies found or any debris or any roughage, if you will, of the actual submarine itself. I do believe that maybe the submarine should have had a tether to it so that there could have been some type of communication that they could have, let the surface know that they were in distress and would have been able to get pulled up to the surface, if not for anything else, but to just at least have the bodies as well as the, itself, available to the families. The families, again, is, firstly, is who I am mostly concerned about. Like I said, regardless of what the memes are and what, people may say or what have you, these are still real human beings and real people who may have lives and left loved ones behind. So that's my take on that incident as far as the submarine is concerned. Good news in the WNBA, other than the All-Star game. If you know who this is Lindsey Harding. Lindsey Harding will become the first woman head coach of a G League basketball team. Congratulations to Lindsey Harding. She's a Duke women's basketball. She was also she also played in the WNBA herself with the Minnesota Lynx, the LA Sparks, I believe one other team. So congratulations to her. They also hired a female general manager as well. I cannot remember what her name is, but congratulations to her as well. This team will be the first team that's going to be led by two women ever in the history of the G League. So congratulations to the G League. Congratulations to Lindsey Harding, and congratulations to the Stockton Kings. The Stockton Kings is who she's going to be hosting. Good luck to you over there, Lindsey. Secondly, this young lady right here, her name is Akila Davis. Akila Davis celebrated Juneteenth in a very unique way. She is a newscaster in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she celebrated Juneteenth by coming on her daily, her daily broadcast of the news wearing her normal hair. So she ditched the wig and came on wearing her natural hair, which is the sister locks that you see here in this picture. Very pretty young lady. I think she should hopefully, forego the wig now on and go with the sister locks. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the way her hair looks. So congratulations on celebrating Juneteenth in that manner to Miss Akila Davis. And in other news, if you don't know who this is one of the Central Park Five. His name is Yusef Salaam. Yusef Salaam is actually running for New York City Council. Good on you, young man. He is 49 years old. And if you know the story behind the Central Park Five, they were a group of men of color or boys of color, ages 14 to 16 years old, who were wrongly accused and prosecuted for the rape and beating of a woman and wound up spending more than 20 years in prison. They were later exonerated. Yusef, being one of those gentlemen who is exonerated, is now running for city council in the state of New York. In his speech, he says, "I've often said that those who have been close to the pain should have a seat at the table. I agree with you, Yusef. Congratulations, Mr. Salam, and I wish you nothing but the best. So if you're in New York City, please look out for Mr. Salam and his campaign efforts, excuse me, which should begin in August. All right. Other than that, it's about time for us to speak to my first guest. My first guest is a very accomplished individual. He's had a lot of success in marketing with Degini Marketing. He is the author of A Leap in the Fall, and we're going to be talking to him about that, as well as some reparations talk. Y'all give a good round of applause and a hand for Mr. Princess Johnson. Princess, what's going on, good brother?
Hey, sincere. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. It's good to see you. Good to talk with you. We spoke a little bit at length before we got on here today. I was always looking forward to the conversation, but I'm definitely looking forward to it now. As we hope that they would cut the check, if you will.
That's right.
Where reparations are concerned. Now, as
Yes.
we spoke about it earlier, you said that you were also, have been actively involved in this process. Talk to me about that.
Yes, I'm a self-advocate.
Mhm.
Doing my own research progressively. I have a book. It's called A Leap in the Fall that I'm contributing to the replenishment of the economy.
Okay.
As well as a chart that I would like to get into 40,000 schools nationwide, all pertaining to reparations.
Right.
The chart itself is.
I'm about to say. Go ahead.
Tell
me what
the
the
chart
chart
itself is a 6-column document
Mhm.
that enables the ability to teach the history of enslavement. Has 6 columns of apology and repair. Has a timeline, a map of slave states, free states, and states that consider themselves neither nor. The fact that I identify as an indigenous American of advanced melanin. Of course, the definition of reparations and elements, 5 elements of reparations. Then the restore and replenishment column number 5, as well as 10 forms of reparations column number 6.
Okay, I like the 10 forms of reparations and the 5 parts of reparations. My thing is I want to briefly, go touch on, because we're going to hit on this as well as some other things that you want to speak about as far as the ADOS community is concerned. However, the California reparations bill, of course, is the bill that's been getting the most media attention. I did a little research, a little reading up on that, and there is something that it doesn't speak of clearly. I will say it doesn't clearly state a particular item, and I'll ask you about that as well. But in general, what do you think of the California reparations bill as it is?
Well, as far as the bill goes, I'm not 100% too clear on what the actual bill is. My understanding at this particular point is that HR 40 was passed. There has been a lot of success in California regarding research.
Right.
Okay. And so for the last 2 to 3 years now, California reparations, they have actually, they're called a task force. They have taken the time to put together a document, a 500-page document that enables your ability to see the issues that occurred all the way back to, I want to say, the 1700s, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and the thing that like I said, and if I missed it, then I missed it. But what I didn't see addressed again was because it says that it would give 1.2 million to every eligible person of color in California. And my question is, how do we identify who is eligible? Now we know how foundational Black Americans, as my man Tariq Nasheed would call us. We all know how we got here. Again, that history would tend to cloud maybe the identification of some people who would consider themselves a African descendant of slavery. And again, that was not identified, or that was not pointed out on how they would identify those who are eligible for reparations.
Yes, sir. So in the news, especially social media, you will see numbers like that. I think the 1.2 million was something that was submitted to the governor
Right.
of California and
Mhm.
was denied.
Now, in your book,
Uh,
you say that every qualified individual is deserving of 22 million each. How'd you come up with that number?
well, that number considers a vast amount of issues. It includes the fact that I have a relation, okay, and that relation was the OJ trial, and the person that was beat and actually killed in that particular situation, where OJ was actually charged with the issue, although he was acquitted. The civil trial had him paying over $10 million for the one individual. And so
Mm,
I equate also the amount of deaths and the abuse that went on in slavery. I also include the amount of time that has passed uh, from slavery. So I would say 1800s up until today. And so with inflation as well as interest, you have a huge sum of money. And so
right.
my equation has to do with the actual amount. The problem becomes uh, how long term the issue actually is. So
Hmm.
even if our reparations actually ends up being that large sum of money, it doesn't come in the form of a lump sum,
Right.
and it comes in a long period of time. So we need to have that for an understanding. Don't too much pay attention to the numbers that are coming out on the news and stuff like that until it's ironclad. California is actually submitting uh, July 1st what their recommendations are. So it
Mm,
hasn't even come to that. But there's been news stories of $5 million. There's been news of $1.2 million,
right.
and of course, I have my own calculation as well as an offering to make sure that that type of thing actually occurs.
Right.
So when we come to grips with the reality and we start looking and listening and especially contributing, don't automatically fall for anything that you hear. There's a
Hmm.
lot going on, and stay tuned to the reality. It's going on all over the United States. Note that I am certain of 13 different cities nationwide participating, and there's been news of additional cities doing research regarding their own states.
Right. I've heard of that. Even I believe up in your state, in Minnesota, I've heard of them actually having a task force there as well.
St. Paul.
To definitely, I'm not even. I mean, I've heard all kind of numbers, just like you mentioned, 1.25, your 22 million. I've heard numbers higher than that. Um, even but if even in the California bill, they said that the 1.2 million will not be that won't be a lump sum payment, that it will be given out over time. I don't know exactly how much time that is. I didn't read that portion, but I believe anything that would be awarded is going to be given out over time. My worry is who will come up with a solid number, who will be the first to begin to issue reparation checks, because once that state or city is identified and they begin to give out those checks, that any one state or city that follows will use the foundation of identifying who those people are that are eligible off of that initial state or city. And we don't know exactly how we're going to go about that.
Well,
What is
I'm gonna
another way what is another way that you believe we can receive reparations other than a check?
Well, I tell you, there are so many ways. We start off with taxes.
There you go. Talk my talk.
Okay, as tax-paying individuals, doesn't matter front or back. When I go to the grocery store, I have to pay taxes.
Right.
Literally. When I have a job and an income, um, we are paying taxes into the the place
The
of
economy.
employment,
Hmm.
right? And so, with that said, we need to have an understanding that reparations. We're agreeing that there's a breach, and
Right.
it is the truth. There has been a breach,
Right.
um, and the problem actually lies with well-being. And
Uh-huh.
so, if you allow me to go into this in the fashion that I have written, um, the problem is getting from point A to point B.
Right.
We can consider point A the present or our current position, and then B success,
Hmm.
right? Okay, so at that particular point, we need to have an understanding that success can be measured as the amount of achievement that's enabled for the accomplishment, right?
Right.
Now we have to equate this system. Okay. And with that said, we're given instruction on a consistent basis.
Hmm.
Now, keep our mind on the simplistic fact we're talking about reparations here. Okay.
Right.
We're talking about replenishment from the issue of slavery.
Right.
But our minds have been messed with consistently since being taken away from our home,
Hmm.
right? And so, on top of that, there are layers. Okay. And there I mean, I could list the amount of layers that are going on in society that causes our issue. But you could start off with math problems. Okay? If you
Okay.
don't understand or if you're given the wrong information and then you're calculating in this fashion over and over again, it becomes an issue later on when it changes.
Hmm.
Right? Then business issues, okay, which are going on a consistent basis. One of the issues that I've had concern with is being released from employment illegally. And
Right.
that's not just once or twice, but consistently. And there are a lot of people that are going through that. Now, in my case, I bring those issues to court and I end up rejected in court as well. There's an amount of negligence and tyranny going on in court, and it happens constantly. I go over this particular argument in my book, A Leap and a Fall, where I mention about 15 different court cases as well. With that said, we we fail to comprehend and understand certain things, and with that, because of our failed comprehension, we have a hard time getting to point B, which is our success,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
There's so much left out, right? So we're talking about an amount of money right now, for instance. We don't know
Right.
for sure what it is because we're not doing the research to figure it out,
But
right?
some have.
Many have.
Here's the thing. Here's another thing also to consider. And this comes from a business standpoint, because I would say I do quite a bit of business. And although I would say that the option of freeing us from paying taxes would probably benefit us more in the long run, it doesn't give anything back to the government. They can't have that.
Well,
So
that's
while it
yeah,
seems crazy, it's actually better to give you money for you to spend, taxes and all, and put it right back into the ecosystem of economics than to
yeah.
just say you're going to be free from taxes, and now that's basically just putting a hole in the pocket of a government. Remember,
That's right.
black people spend over $1 trillion a year in non-appreciable goods.
That's right. That's right. So
They can't let that money just, they can't let that money just go to waste, and they miss out on it. You know
that's
what I mean?
right.
So that's why
That's right.
I don't believe, even though the option of not paying taxes would be great. I would welcome that.
In the
I don't
midst of it,
think that
right?
that's something that they're going to do,
It's
that the
it's not
government will be
the
willing.
it's not the pinpointed understanding.
Hmm.
Just an amount of taxes not being coming out of your particular pocket doesn't lead to the proper conclusion. You're absolutely right.
Right.
There's so much more to it, right?
Now, when you think about anything that has to do with the legal system, right?
Yes,
When if a person goes to a legal when someone's being sued, the object is for the person, the plaintiff who's bringing the suit, to be made whole again, right? So we would be the plaintiff, right? And there
that's
and
right.
the object would be for the government to make us whole again, right?
To make
And to do
sure
that,
we're back at the point where we've been, I guess I want to say, abused enough to recklessly push us away from our progressive point.
exactly,
So, wherever we would actually be today without slavery and apartheid, they
exactly,
are to put us back there. Absolutely.
exactly. If it had not been for where we were at that point, where would we be up to now?
That's right.
And even my argument for a lot of people is they say, well, you shouldn't really get any reparations, because whatever reason that they give or whatever, because they don't want to say that, slavery happened. We're at the point now where the country doesn't even want to even admit slavery has happened.
Let me
But
interject there.
even if we didn't go from there, even if we just went from the area where there was not just Black Wall Street in Tulsa, we had one in Jackson, Mississippi, we had one in South Carolina, we had a few places where we were growing and thriving, both economically and socially, before the people came and burned everything down and took
That's
everything
right.
from us. Now there were businesses there. Some of
That's
those
right.
businesses at this point could be national brands. Just think, the Heinz company didn't start until after Black Wall Street was burned to the ground.
All of this is a problem that's hindering our progress. All
Right.
those things that you mentioned are 100% correct. Those things actually occurred, and there are actual people who have the nerve to be sitting in a position to actually tell you that you don't deserve reparations
Right.
or that they don't want to pay reparations. And that is a huge problem. I think what the projection was 77% of African Americans want agree with reparations. Okay, and then
Mhm.
74 some odd percent of Caucasians
World Court of the UN.
disagree with
They
reparations.
got offended us to find themselves guilty.
And so we
That's
got
that's a that's a good point, Mel. That's a good point. But again, one, the problem is the identity is identifying those who are eligible. That's going to be problem number one. And then number two, how? What is that repayment going to be? Is it going to
well,
be in money? Is it going to be in, relief from taxes, or et cetera?
yeah,
So those are the two big things right there, Mel. But you know what, Mel, and that's a good point, because the UN has always said that the United States has never really properly uh, repaired us, according to what happened as far as slavery is concerned.
well, you
So
know that
that's a good point, Mel.
they started it off and then they
Right.
took it back. And there is a law that is in place written by the UN
Hmm.
that says what reparations is and how it is to be repaid, how you're to be repaid if there's an issue, and what those issues are where reparations would be granted. Absolutely.
Right,
So
and
there is
they've exercised that by giving the reparations to, um, you know, American Indians, to Japanese, the victims of the Holocaust. It's been done. I mean, they know the way to do it, but they definitely slow a foot when it comes to giving Black people what they're
adults.
owed.
That's right. That is right. And they are extremely slow about it. And I think the major issue there is once we get it, there's no turning back. And so I believe it has to be planned, well thought out, and planned correctly. And
Right,
that's not an issue today. I don't believe that there's an issue with that today. But there are several concerns. And so I think when you talk about that those people that in general say that we shouldn't receive reparations, we have to come to an understanding that those people don't get to decide whether or not you get reparations. Okay, this is an independent thought process. Okay,
Right.
and so with that said, although we have to present it to them in a proper fashion, they don't get to make that decision. There's absolutely no reason for us to be thinking that the racist man should be sitting on a high authoritative throne to decide whether or not you receive reparations, knowing what you've been through for the last 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
But that's what we dealing with. We dealing with a bunch of people we dealing with people like Ron DeSantis. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, what's the chances of him ever? Oh yeah, let's give him. It's no.
Tell me
He
about
has
Ron
no
DeSantis.
interest in that.
Tell
He has no
me,
interest in that.
who is he?
Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida.
Okay.
And if you've been listening to the news as far as he's concerned, he's basically putting laws in effect that's going to eventually put the state of Florida back in 1965.
1965 or 1865?
1965. Like, he ain't gonna be able to go back to 1865. But
in
1965, as in Jim Crow.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
as in Jim Crow law. So
very, very well possible that they're thinking in that fashion, and that's where we start experiencing backlash. And that is why I have an independent way of handling this particular situation, because I think mostly what their fear is having to pay taxes. But the bottom line is, you don't get to make me a slave anymore. I don't care what your title is. You don't get to tell me whether or not I've been suffering through something that I know for certain I've been suffering from. That is the actual mental illness. And they're not admitting the fact that racism is a mental illness. That is a huge authoritative understanding. Right?
I don't think racism is a mental illness.
You said you don't.
I don't. I think it's a construct. It's a system. That's why it's called systematic racism.
It is
right?
a system.
Because if it was, to me, if it was just a mental illness, anybody could have it, right? But you have to be in a position of power to execute racism.
Right. And
right. So I can, and we are not in that position. We are not in that position of power.
Don't think that I'm a doctor, but here's how I equate this understanding. In order to diagnose mental illness, there has to be a well-being applied. Normally, when there's no well-being, a person is uncomfortable and projects incompetence and a lack of stability. That's where you get the diagnosis, right?
Okay.
The racist man has been in the position of well-being for a long period of time and still doesn't recognize fully that he is the inferior. You look at your sports, and the way that you control your body, and the way that you are successful in thinking for your movement.
Right.
He steals in order to retreat.
Okay.
He comes up with cumbersome lies and fraudulent situations in order to stay on top.
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, you say it's a system. I understand that. But that doesn't mean that the system is not causing the mental illness. If you have a false reality, in other words, you feel like because of your skin color specifically, you are the superior,
right?
Then you're suffering from proper understanding. That is the
first time I've ever heard that, man.
Yes, sir.
I have to admit, that's the first time I've ever heard that. That was the first time I've ever heard that. Hey, Princess, listen, it was awesome talking to you. I want you to point these people to all of your social medias, your website and everything, and any other way that they can get in contact with you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Find me at Prentice B. Johnson on most social media platforms, your Facebooks, your Instagram. I'm at Heesh Worldwide Publishing on Twitter. Check me out, thegeni.icu. Thegeni.icu. It's kind of difficult to spell. DAGEUINE.ICU. Check me out. I'm building my website right there. You'll find information about my business. You'll find my book and follow me, man. Come check me out.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, y'all give that book a leap in the fall a read. It was a good read. It was interesting, but it was more interesting talking to you, brother, man. So we might have you back on, man. We might have to have you back on. All right.
I appreciate that, man. Let's
All right.
talk.
Yeah.
All
This
right.
is it. All right, brother. Have a good one.
Have a great one, man.
All right, Prentice Johnson, great guy, man. That was an awesome conversation. Love talking to him. And again, if you are somebody who owns a black business, or you know somebody who owns a black business, I would love to have him on the show. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, email me at number one black owned podcast at gmail.com. Again, that is the number one at the black owned podcast at gmail.com. Now, before I get to my next guest, and I know y'all very anxious to speak with him, let me get my shout out the way. Here you go. Shout out Sunday. This shout out Sunday goes to my main man 911 of the AVG podcast. If he had me on a couple of weeks ago, we chopped it up talking about discipline and the lack of and how it's missing in the community. It was a great conversation. So y'all, if y'all want to check him out, please go to IG and follow him at AVG underscore POD underscore 9_11. That's the AVG podcast. My homeboy 911. Shout out to him. I appreciate you. All right, my next guest is probably very familiar to a lot of you guys. I'm sure you may have laid eyes on him at some point in time. He was a contestant on The Voice in this recent season. I've heard, you know what, and the brother has a lot of music out. I didn't know he had this much music out, man. He sound good. So I would the Apple Music, he has some stuff over there. I would the YouTube be flowing over there. He got some stuff going on. So anyway, y'all give it up for Mr. Jamar Langley.
What's going on, everybody?
Jamar, what's going on, good sir?
Man, it's good to be here. Sincere, man. It's a blessed day. Bro, I just thank God for just another day to wake up to do what I love, man.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Hey, look, how was everything going on The Voice? What was that experience like?
Man, the experience was like no other, man. I really thank God placing me in position to be ready because, I didn't even audition for The Voice. They actually wrote me on Instagram and, bro, I answered the call and it went from Instagram to email and then from email to exchanging numbers. Next thing you know, Zoom screening call. And then here we go. Me and 115 other people preparing for, auditions on The Voice.
Man. So yeah. I know that had to be nerve. First of all, it's got to let you know that you're doing something right if they reaching out to you.
Man, what you talking about? I mean, I would say my new word to the wise is, man, check your spam email sometimes. You just never know.
I bet, man. I bet. Hey, so you and 115 other people, man, and I know you made it down to what was it, 20?
Yes, sir. I was in top 20.
Top 20, man. So how? Because I know they don't put all of it on the show. I know they don't put all of that on the show. So what was that? Having to kind of like battle your way to that top 20 spot.
Man, honestly, because really, I caught on kind of early because I'm like, okay, everybody's watching everything. It doesn't really start when you're blind audition. It happens in your rehearsals. It happens in your vocal lessons. I mean, it happens in your own downtime. They can pretty much tell if you've been rehearsing or not, if you've been taking care of your voice. All of that stuff matters because, sincere, man, as I went through the process, people started going home. I would come from my rehearsal and I would see somebody with their suitcase going to the airport. And I'm like, and they were like, well, shoot, so-and-so didn't know the words, or his rehearsal didn't go good, or he wasn't sure of his arrangement, or he didn't do good in vocal class, or he got COVID. I'm like, okay, well, let me make sure I'm on my game, okay? Because apparently we're watching everything right now, and that's cool. So, man, although it could have been nerve-wracking, I just honestly used the skills that I have, man, and just being persistent.
Mm-hmm.
hearing and focusing.
Right.
And that's how I feel like I got to my blind audition, because it could have been me packing up to go home.
It
You know,
did. That's what I was going to ask. Because, like I said, you already have some, some work, out there.
yeah.
So was that an advantage, for you to have already kind of like, y'all don't want to say been there, done that, but you're not new to this.
Right. You know, as I said, it was because in pre-production, when you're doing all the camera stuff, like you know how we're doing like the little backstories and
Mm-hmm.
interview, all of that stuff is pre-taped about 3 weeks before you even touch the stage. So,
Oh.
advantage I had, you know, I've been shooting videos, I've been doing interviews, I've been
Mm-hmm.
in front of cameras and had to do little photo shoots and how to be on camera and how to act, and like all that stuff like kind of put me ahead, like you said. You know, being that I had videos for songs that I had out in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I was just ahead when it came to the pre-production. I kind of went through it much easier than most people, you know, so I didn't have that nerve-wracking experience. I was more so this kind of zoned in. I already knew like the interviews was going to come and it was going to be at least 5 cameras on me, but you know it's 12 to 20 cameras on you just from every single angle. So
Right.
it's like I was had my mind prepared, man, and I just focused and reminded myself of why I was here, why I was chosen, and just stay focused on really singing more.
The performances.
Yes, that part. Yes.
The one I remember specifically was I think it was a James Brown song.
Oh man, try me. Yes, sir. D James.
The intro part of that, the like beginning part of that
Yeah.
was crazy. I was like, that is, you know what I mean? Like you look like you had not, like this wasn't new to you. Like you have, been on stage, before.
Yes, I have been, man. I mean, honestly, performing has always been something I love to do, man. I mean, I give shout out to my mom and dad for putting me in front of people at 3, between 3 and about 9 years old. Just put me
Hmm.
in the choir and making me use my gift. You know, I would be
Right.
up there all scared, and my mom would give me that look like, and then
Yeah.
okay, let me go and step it up a little bit.
Yeah,
But
let me
like,
do my thing.
I thank them for that because it pushed me. Eventually, I got it. It's like, okay,
Right. Right.
cool. Just go and do what you love. So when it came to that, they gave me the freedom to do that arrangement to actually kind of change the beginning a little bit.
Hmm.
Like, man, I blew myself away. I knew I was moving and doing my thing.
Man.
I was like, man, I was really performing my heart out.
Man, I mean the creativity of it. When they first of all when they said you was gonna be do James Brown something, let me tell you what I was like, okay, this might be wrong because your voice is cool. It's like it does give me that old 1960s 70s soulful type of feeling, what I'm saying? But when they
Yeah,
said James Brown, I was like, man, James Brown, like I don't know about James Brown, But
right,
that
right.
intro, man, man, it was beautiful. If anybody hasn't seen it, I believe it is on YouTube.
Yes, it is.
Um, yeah, and you can go on YouTube and check that out. I mean, the whole song was good, but I was already blown. By the time you got to the point where you was, really, really getting into it, I was already sold,
Wow.
on the song. But because it was so good.
Like,
I love the creativity. I love to see people just take something like that that's already, and give it a spin. Make it,
yeah.
bring it up to date. You know what I mean?
Yep, and man, you hit it right on the head. The beginning and the end. That's exactly what I told the music director. Like, I know this song is about 70 years old. Like,
Hmm.
literally, probably about 65 years old. Exactly, I know it, but I want to kind of shake some things up in the beginning, and then
Right.
shake some at the end, and the rest of it, I could find my pockets and find my moments, and not go too far from the song. And like I always do in any song, I kind of pay tribute to the person's song. So I kind of went more, give it a James Brown flow for the first few lines, but then I had to bring Jamar on in. Once I bust the spin move, I was like, okay, now
This is it.
yeah, I can kind of sing it. Yeah,
Yeah. How were the how were the judges? Did you get to interact with them like individually, or was all the interaction when you were on stage?
man. Honestly, most times it was on stage. I did get a chance to. I bumped into Blake one time. I was over there warming up, and he walked by. He stopped and talked to me and told me, "Hey man, incredible voice." It's very very short, very 10 seconds, but it was cool that he even stopped by to even say anything. It looked like
Right.
you bathroom, but you know what I'm saying. But like,
Well, so when you were up there, because I know sometimes you get a vibe, and was it there one judge in particular, like, I don't think I gotta win this person over right here?
honestly, I think now was that person because
Hmm.
he's so pop driven, and I know he was looking for specific voices, and he of course his team won the voice, but
Right.
he was looking for that pop sound. So I knew like my sound wouldn't distinctively like
Resonate.
convince until I brought it. It wasn't until the battle round when I sung Gravity in the battle round with
Hmm.
Mariah, and you kind of heard my voice grow and really where I could really take a song. And then he was like,
Yeah.
okay. But then when I did Smokey Robinson Cruising, he was really like, oh shoot. So
Yeah, I think your voice was perfect for that song.
yeah, oh man, man, what a privilege and an honor, man. I thank God, man, because my mom and dad, that's their song, that's their
Oh
guide.
yeah.
I grew up on Smokey Robinson, and to sit there on national television and sing this man's song, man, I don't take none of that for granted, man. I mean,
Hmm.
man,
But
amazing.
how was it with the battle round where you got to sing with Mariah?
Mariah, oh man, that's my little sister, man, and we bonded immediately because once we found out that we were paired, we met up, you know what I'm saying, at the hotel, like in the little room hallway, and kind of discussed the
Hmm.
song. And she was feel like if I would change the key, I'm like, listen, let's make it do what it's going to do because we're not going to. This is going to be it's a battle, but we're going to do a duet to make sure that we move people even when this show is over. Like
Right.
that was my biggest thing. When the show is over and people go back to see our battle, I want ours to be ranked in like a top battle, like that was really just
Yeah.
like a real duet. So man,
Hmm.
working easy. Like I left a lot of room for her to do her thing, and just I kind of placed myself where I need to place myself because I mean I knew more of the song than her, so I had to make sure she was really just all the way there. Even
Honed
though
in. Yeah.
listen, I really want us to just blow people away when we sing this, and we did, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Gravity, yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah. And what I like about that particular round is it puts everybody outside their comfort zone. Like
yes,
nobody is in their comfort zone. You're working with somebody who you barely know,
mm-hmm.
and you gotta you really have to find chemistry fast.
In two
You
weeks,
know what I
man,
mean?
you
Right.
got
You really gotta find chemistry
somebody
fast.
you never met. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love
So
it, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that particular round. So um how'd you feel after you performed that last song?
Oh man, BB King, the Thriller's gone. Huh.
Hmm.
I felt like a superstar, man, because it's like I finally opened up and like I was showing you vocal ability, everything I showed you throughout the rounds. I kind of just placed it together in one song,
Hmm.
and I was able to kind of shake the arrangement a little bit to kind of make it fit my playing and just fit everything about me. Even with the leading the band, everything, all of that was like
Right.
ideas I was throwing out there, just asking questions because I know they were very particular about, if words aren't in the actual song, then maybe you can't say it on TV because for clearance purposes and copyrights.
Right.
But I was like, man, listen, if this is just in case this is my last performance on here, and it was, unfortunately,
Hmm.
fortunately
Hmm.
that because every for a reason,
Right.
I want to just like let me just have fun with it. So man, they gave me the floor. They gave me the floor to have fun, and bro, I performed. And when I look back at it, a lot of people always say, like, man, this is the type of performance you see on the Super Bowl. I'm like, wow,
Exactly. Right.
thank you.
Yeah. Hmm. When you found out that that was your last song, how'd you feel?
Oh my goodness, man. I was celebrating. I man, I was calling my the vocal coach the next day, like, okay, I got this, I got this. She's like, okay. I could tell she was like, dang, this dude just got off the stage uh from the
Hmm.
dang on rounds, and he's already because I'm like, yeah, I get to do the song that I've been hoping and praying that I get to do. I mean, come on, man, like I'm ready for it. So by the time rehearsal came by, man, I was just ready to explore the ideas, see if it can work with them, see how we can make everything dynamic. Even with the background singers coming in on certain parts, even
Right.
with the five at the end, Thrill is gone, all of that little stuff.
Yeah.
Church, keeping the church roots in there, just all
Uh-huh.
little things, man, I was just super excited and ready to do.
So once the all of the results came back, and then you found out that that was the end of the road. What was the feeling?
Honestly, I still felt accomplished because here I am, a regular, musician, songwriter, going out to the Mall of Georgia in the courtyard, just singing. No particular
Hmm.
out there loving what I do. And I end up on The Voice, man. And not only do I end up on The Voice, I see people's journeys in. Some people didn't get an audition. Some people auditioned, didn't get aired. Some people didn't get chair turns.
Hmm.
I, like top 20 contestant.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, wow, I felt
yeah, yeah.
amazing. See everyone
That's definitely a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I feel to see everyone come and write me so many messages up until this day saying, "Man, you got robbed. Oh my goodness, man, you were the best thing on that show." Blah blah blah. It's like I didn't really have to validate or be mad. I just did what I came to do, and
Hmm.
people spoke for they spoke what they felt about
So
it.
so
Yeah.
now how are we capitalizing off
Oh
of the because I look,
yeah.
if they were your I know your DMs going crazy now.
Oh man, it's been going crazy, and I've watched I've watched all my socials go up, and it's like, man, God is good, man. So June 30th, which is next Friday, this the upcoming Friday, I'm releasing
Hmm.
my single, man, Far from Paradise. And
Okay,
man, I cannot wait. Sincere,
okay,
man.
okay. So we gonna get the cop that on Apple,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Google, all platforms.
All the platforms, Spotify. Everybody, please check in. If you don't know me, listen. I'm pretty sure my man going to give me some time to get my socials out there. But listen, June 30th, y'all see me
Yeah,
smile.
yeah.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah,
This is it.
yeah, he should, man.
So
That's a good one because, and like I said, yeah, everybody, this brother is not new to the game. He's been out here doing it for some time. I was surprised. And and you know what? I think the first time when I listened to your music, you kind of put me in the mind of what's my man's name, Dwelle. You know who Dwelle is?
wow, yes, I do.
Man, I'm talking about composure, the voice range, you got the raspy thing that you can get into that bag too,
Sir,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
Plus you got the smooth laid back going. So I was like, man, this brother is really talented.
Wow.
You really have a gift, man. And I hope, what I'm saying, one day you be like, yeah, I was on little old black owned podcast.
It's an honor. Just listening to the conversation beforehand, I'm like,
Mhm.
that's why it's important as me as like a black artist in society, man, to like not put no restraints on myself, even when it comes to music, because I look up to people like Dwelle,
Right.
people like, of course, like Prince, even
Hmm.
Lenny Kravitz. Like I feel like people like that, they've separated themselves musically.
Right.
It's not like another one of them. I was just having a conversation with about Lenny Kravitz because someone said, "Man, you're like if Smokey Robinson, Prince, Michael, and Lenny had a baby. That's you." And I'm
Yeah.
wow, like
Yeah, like I
yeah,
said, I was pleasantly surprised when I seen the different spots you could really get into, and not
yeah,
just kind of like barely make it, but you can really get into those different layer. You have layers to your to
yes, sir.
your talent, man, and then you're able to play an instrument on top of that. So that's always good. So
Yeah, man.
hey, man, you know what? I thank you so much, for coming, for gracing us with your presence. Please, before I let you go, let everybody know what your socials are and how they can get in contact with
Yes, everybody, you can get in contact with me on IG or Instagram at Jamar Langley Music, on Twitter at Jamar_Langley, Facebook at Jamar Langley Music, and TikTok at Jamar Langley Music as well. As my boy Sincere said, I got music that's currently on all platforms in my dreams. It came out in 2020, but it's still very relevant today. If
you.
you can
Indeed.
get to know musically, please listen to it. Love Sessions Volume 1. Yes, which means it has to be a volume 2, which we're working on. So go listen to it, man, and become familiar with me, connect with me, DM me. I'll write back. I'll talk to you about anything inside of music, outside of music, man. Listen, I just love to connect. So connect with me.
Indeed. Well, again, Mr. Langley, like I said, thank you so much for stopping by, man. We wish you nothing but the best and we hope it's all up from here.
Man, it will be sincere. And thank you so much. Shout out to Black Owned Podcast. It's been a pleasure to be on here, man. Seriously.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right. Hey, Jamar Langley, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I mean, it's good to have talent, you know what I mean, and it's good to, you know, that the brother took time to, you know, to come out here and to give me some of his time, because I do believe there's going to be a time very soon when I wouldn't be able to get that kind of access to this brother. So, like he said, he has a new single coming out on next Friday. Please make sure you go, you know, check him out on all of the streaming platforms. And you don't have to wait until next Friday. He has some music, like I said, already on those platforms. Has some videos on YouTube to include, I believe, a couple of his the voice performances. So please go check him out, man. The guy, he can really sing. He's a really good singer. All right, it's almost that time to start getting up out of here. But before we do, I want to leave y'all with the sincere thought of the week. This week's thought has something to do with the lady who was up in Chicago. She was in the restaurant. She had a conflict with a gentleman. Her 14-year-old son was nearby when the conflict occurred. The man struck the lady, and it caused the 14-year-old boy to come in and shoot him. Shot him once, I believe. What the story was, he got out of the restaurant, and then he was shot in his back. And both mother and son have been apprehended and charged with murder. Just in general, it just upsets me at where we are, you know, communally, because this lady was not in the store by herself with this man. There was another whole grown man present in that restaurant and did not intervene to at least break up that argument before it turned physical. And even after it turned physical, to see a whole grown man strike a woman so hard that he almost fell, and still nobody intervened. Again, it just says it's sad about where we are as a community when we would let something like that happen in front of our face. Somebody was recording, of course. I don't know who that person was that was recording, whether they were male or female. But again, we would rather record something like this, something as disgusting as this happening, than to put the phone down and intervene and keep it from happening. We got to do better as a community, and we have to do better as individuals. Of course, I put a strong onus on men stepping up and making sure that we intervene when we see this type of foolishness happening. So with that, I thank you guys for joining in. I can't wait to see you next week. We're going to have another great show for you. But until then, please.